Hey, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to another one of my morning mantras. It's a beautiful October morning in India, in Delhi NCR. Yeah, but I think one of the issues here is that the beautiful weather lasts only for a bit. Yeah, as right after this, the smog then sets in. So I'm hoping that this year, we get some time for breathing in the fresh air before breathing in basically dust and smog, right? But hey, I just wanted to cover an interesting area. I mean, if you would remember from my book, actually, Accelerated Digital Transformation, it has been a year since the book got published. Some of you who have graciously bought it and read it would recognize that I describe a model for digital transformation, which is in three layers or three vectors, right? What you do, which are the digital strategy, which in this case in the book I describe as a honeycomb, 6 nodes of the honeycomb. Then digital capabilities, which is what you leave behind, and then the most difficult part of any transformation journey, which is digital mindset, what you become, right? So I just wanted to share an interesting story that I've written there on this most difficult part, which is the digital mindset, right? So let's just, one of the perhaps the attributes. There are many of these, right? And maybe if I ever do write, some other, book, it will probably be on this part of, the transformation journeys, which is how to change the soul of an organization, the digital mindset of how to embed a digital mindset in all the folks who work in and out of the companies, right? So, one attribute that you want to become, right, or the soul of the organization, is this whole kind of a bit cliched word called customer obsession, right? Yeah, and Bezos kind of coined it. He's of course embedded this within this large company, right, which always kind of stays at day one, as he says, right? It's almost a huge company which behaves like a startup. Yeah. So I was just, in the book, how does it manifest? This is a question I was asking myself. What do you have to see, or what stories in an organization manifest digital mindset? For example, something like customer obsession, right? So let me just share the story that I've written in my book, which, let me just share that with you, right? So this is at least 10 to 15 years old, I think, when I was part of the beautiful organization called Emirates. And I used to manage the IT for operations. Yeah. And I had a, dear colleague on the, what I call the employee customer, because, pretty much all employees are also our customers, right? Let's just call him Chris, right? He used to run operations control or network control, right? So if you've seen the movies, right, NASA launches, you would have seen there is a center where all the folks are there, organized in a particular manner, big screens at the back, right? Very similar centers exist in large airlines, and in Emirates it used to be called network control center, right? So the story goes like this, right? Me and Chris were evaluating a software. I don't remember which one was this. One of the operations software, either crewing or ops control. And there was a great vendor in the UK, right? So we decided to do a site visit, get a bit close. There are these RFP checklists, right, that you have to do, and that due diligence is very important. But nothing like, face-to-face discussion with the team that you want to onboard, because, otherwise it might just become a word, which is vendor versus partner. But if you build strong relationship, if you align them to what your mission is, the vendors, then they transcend into what is a great partnership, right? So we wanted to meet this partner. So we were both going beautiful business class at that stage, queued up, at the check-in counter at our terminal. I think it was the old terminal then, right, in Dubai. And, queuing up at check-in, a small queue to board, kind of get checked into the flight to London Heathrow, right? Chris was in front of me, and I just barely noticed that in front of Chris was a tallish customer of ours. We could just see his back. And what kind of, in my subconscious, I noticed that he was wearing a fairly large hat, right? Like almost like a cowboy hat. And in this hat, I could see that he had, these airline pins. If you remember, it used to be a collectibles item. kind of a collectible item. He was wearing pins of multiple airlines. So that was me here, Chris in front, and let's just call him this customer. Let's just call him the customer with the hat. Right? So I just noticed and I continued. I didn't think at all anything between you and me, right? So this is great learning, right? Whereas I could see, Chris getting a bit fidgety, and after that making a few calls in front of me, and I barely noticed it. I said, fine, it must be something operational, right? So we take up our flight, beautiful Emirates service, very comfortable. 6-7 hours later, we land in Heathrow, right? And Chris told me, Neetan, we got to rush. I'm thinking, we have enough time as per schedule. I don't know why he's asking this. He said, yeah, let's just go quickly out, right? And then again, as soon as the plane landed, I could see him making a few calls. And to cut a long story short, we got out of the aircraft, and Chris had picked up a fair amount of pace by then in terms of walking, so I scampered behind him, right? And then as soon as we got out, there's one of our colleagues from Heathrow came and gave him a small package, and then he really picked up pace, right? So I ran behind him almost. And this was the amazing part, right? So I was behind Chris. This goes running to this guy with the hat, taps him on his shoulders and say, "Excuse me, sir." And the guy turns back looking quite surprised. Who's this guy, right? Who's tapping me? And Chris says, I just noticed in Dubai that you had these beautiful pins of multiple airlines. I also happened to notice that you did not have one of our beautiful airline, in your cap. So here it is. I've organized this from our London office. I hope you could decorate your hat, with this pin. Right? I was absolutely, between you and me, a bit blown away, right? So there are so many lessons in this just very small story, to be honest, because I started reflecting on it that evening, and then as I wrote the book as well later, right? So first of all, just think of the customer, right? He did not ask anything. He did not tell anything, right? He obviously might have a latent subconscious expectation or want or desire that I'm missing this great airlines pin, because he quite obviously collected those, right? So just one thread for me was what delight it would have left, in the mind of our customer, right? That with this kind of magical small thing, I think we would have got him as a customer for life, is my opinion. I could see the glow in his face when he thanked Chris, saying, "Thank you very much. This is magical. Thank you. I was always wanting a pin of Emirates," right? So that was one. Second is, typically network control guys are, obviously customer is key for all, but in terms of day-to-day operations, it's a fairly heavy load of just operational work, right? Yeah. And for me, it's a great story because the other vector is in customer service and customer kind of obsession was so imbued in the culture, right? That somebody from operations, no doubt a very senior guy, right? He used to head up operations, had this passion to perform a customer act when nobody was looking, right? So second is, in these stories is where mindset actually lives. The third lesson for me was nobody was watching Chris, right? There was no president there. So, culture and mindset is also what you do when nobody is looking, right? Yeah, and you do it out of your own, kind of, when it becomes your own, right? That is why I say mindset is when it becomes, the soul of the organization, right? And so many other stories, right? So, yeah, so I just wanted to share this with you. I think digital mindset and culture is one of the most difficult things to do, right? I think culture cannot be, or mindsets cannot be changed directly. You can't tell someone from tomorrow you will be customer obsessed. I think it emerges, yeah, mindset emerges. And in this story, I learned a few more lessons that they live in stories, right? In fables, right? So if you got these more and more stories, we should accentuate this within the larger organization, because you learn from these stories, right? Yeah, so I think it was a great experience for me. It left an indelible the story has left an indelible mark in my subconscious in my own mind, and that's why I carried the whole story in the book as well, right? So think about this, right, folks, that what you become, the soul of the organization, is probably critical. And how many such stories exist in your organization where people are doing magical stuff around multiple of these mindset dimensions when nobody is looking, right? All right, yeah, have a great day. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any such stories in your corporate or personal life, do feel free to share it with me. Thank you, Cheerio. Have a great day.